Привет, друзья! Welcome back to our 50 Russian words per week. This is episode number 9. Before we get started and say anything else, I want to apologize because I somehow just skipped 4 words from the previous deck. And so we have 4 words. Конец, which means the end. Конец. Час, which means an hour. Час. Ночь means night. Ночь or night time. And minuta means a minute. So if I got these 4 words in the last video and nobody noticed that it was 46 words and not 50. But today we have episode number 9, so another set of words for today. The set for today is available on BeFluent. It's our own Russian learning platform. Click the first link and be taken to this set. Just click this plus button and this set is added to your vocabulary. We also have exercises for you to practice this set with so that you can train your memory and never forget these words. If you're not a member yet, shame on you. How did you get to the 9th episode without being a member of BeFluent? Well, if you're one of those people, then click the second link. And once again, if you're looking for more kind of intensive way to learning Russian, then BeFluent Camp is for you. It's our 8-week intensive course that encompasses everything, not just vocabulary, but grammar, speaking, and listening too. We start very soon, so check out the start date with the 3rd link in the description. So if you want to learn more intensely and see much more progress just in 2 weeks, then that program is for you. But now, let's get going with the 9th set. Let me move my mic a little closer. We have numbers first. We already learned numbers from 0 to 19. Now let's move on to bigger numbers. 20 is 20. 20. The difference between 20 and, let's say, 12 for 12, go back to 20, 2 means 2. And the tzat is an older way to say 10, which means 10. So 2/10, okay? That's kind of the logic of most of these tens in Russian, like 20, 30, 40, you will see it as well. So 20, 2/10, 20. 30 follows the same exact logic. 3 means 3, the tzat means 10, so 30. But there's an exception with 40, 40. 40 is 40. It has nothing in common with number 4 or 14. I don't know why 40 is an exception and why couldn't we have like 40. I don't know why we couldn't have that, but 40 is the way to say 40. 50 is 50. 50. So first we have 5, which means 5, and 10, now we update our language from the ancient Russian to modern Russian, because 10 is, of course, 10 in Russian, and it's not an old word, it's a current word that everybody uses. 50. 60 is 60. 60. 70 is 70. 70. 80 is 80. 80. Now we're going again off our kind of pattern. 90 is 90. 90. So the logic that I like to always point out is that 9 is 9. Like 9 would be the full way to say 9, but 9 is the beginning. No is but in Russian. No. And 100 is 100 that we're about to get to. 100 is 100. So it's 90 but, or 9 but 100. So it's something right before 100 that we have. So 90 is 90. Then 100 is 100. 100. Now we have numbers from 20 to 100. There is a certain pattern to almost all of them, but the pattern is very inconsistent. Unlike numbers from 11 to 19, for example, there the pattern was very clear. But for these, not so much. And so it's better for you to just take each word, one word at a time, and learn them all kind of separately. Now let's move on to numbers after 100. 200 is 200. 200 still has this dvie as a part of it, which means 2. 300 is 300. 400 is 400. 500 is 500. 500. 600 is 600, 600, 700 is 700, 700, 800 is 800, 900 is 900, and then finally, 1000 is 1000. 1000. So we've learned numbers from 0 to 1000. For the numbers for today, of course, I know that you guys would need some time to practice this, to learn this stuff. And my challenge to you is don't just learn, of course, go through the first round of learning these numbers, just kind of learn them individually, but then challenge yourself with reading the numbers that you see on your phone or something, or reading different dates, or just generate a random number on something like ChatGPT as your practice. So you generate a random number, and your task is to name that number in Russian. If it's 678, you know it's 678, for example, right? So just simply challenge yourself not only to learn individual words, but also then being able to tell the number on the spot. Because if we go back to our kind of goal for our Russian is to communicate. If we only learn words in isolation, it's going to be hard for us to use them in the conversation. But if we challenge ourselves to call out numbers regularly, then whenever a number comes up, let's say on the bill, you have, let's say your total would be 3,568 rubles, which is about like $40, you know how to read that number out loud. So you have already challenged yourself enough for you to read that number beforehand. So we have to make it practical, in other words. All right, now let's move on to some other words, some adjectives for today. First adjective is sветлый, which means light. Something that looks light in color, sветлый. Also can talk about the hair of a person, светлый. Next is сложный. Сложный means difficult, сложный or complex. Сложный can be difficult in like difficulty level, but also can be complex in that there is many parts to something. Сложный. Опасный is dangerous. Опасный. Next, бедный. Бедный can either be poor in the sense of money, but also can be poor like unfortunate. Бедный. When something has happened to a person, we can describe them as бедный, okay? Бедная бабушка, poor grandma. Not because she's poor financially, but because something has happened to her. Next, трудный. Трудный is difficult. Трудный. Now this is only difficult, not complex, just difficult. Низкий is short, not tall in other words. Низкий. Взрослый is grown. Взрослый is adult or grown. So взрослый, it can be either mature, it can be adult, it can be grown. In other words, a person who is not a kid anymore, or something that is not intended for kids. Okay, взрослый. And you can describe a person being взрослый if they are mature as a person. Like a 14-year-old can also be взрослый because of the way they carry themselves, because they have matured. Now let's move on to some verbs in Russian. We have a handful of them as well, of course, all useful as always. Переходить means to cross, переходить, or it can also be to change teams, change companies, переходить, to go from one place to another, but more literally means to cross, переходить. Закрывать means to close something, закрывать. Произносить is a great word to pronounce, произносить. Next, танцевать. Танцевать means to dance, танцевать. And finally, for the verbs, заплатить. Заплатить means to pay for something, заплатить. This one you can use in a restaurant. You can say, for example, я хочу заплатить за вас. I want to pay for you. Я хочу, I want, заплатить, to pay, за вас, for you. All right? And now let's move on to some nouns that describe different drinks. Not all of them. I think we have about 6-7 words that won't describe drinks, but let's start with the drinks first. First, of course, is вода. Вода is water. Вода. And like I've been stressing the pronunciation, this one has both us, вода, Vada. Make sure whenever you pronounce this word, you don't restrict your mouth and say voda, voda. Open it up. Voda, voda. Okay, it has to kind of flow a bit. Voda, like singing in a way. Okay, voda. Next is chai. Chai is tea. Chai. Next is vino. Vino means wine. Vino. Vodka. Vodka is vodka, of course. Vodka. But unlike in English, vodka, we say vodka. Vodka with the O. Vodka. Don't try to tell people vodka when you come to Russia. They will not understand you. Next is my favorite alcoholic drink, piva. Piva means beer. Piva. Coffee is coffee. Coffee. Again, same thing. In English, coffee. In Russian, coffee. So, coffee, make sure that you say this O. When you come to Russia, say coffee, people might think that you're asking for a cafe, because in Russian, cafe is cafe. So they might confuse the two. So make sure that you stress this O, coffee. Next is молоко. My second favorite drink, молоко, milk. Cognac is cognac. Cognac. Sok is juice. Sok. Then we have napitak. Napitak is a drink. Now, it can be, typically, of course, in specific context, it means an alcoholic drink. But it doesn't have to be. It's just a drink in its general meaning. Napitak. Whiskey is whiskey. Whiskey. Same thing as before. In Russian, we don't have this W sound or letter, W, like whiskey. We say whiskey with the V, as if whiskey was spelled as V-I-S-K, etc. Okay? Whiskey. Liter is a liter. Liter. In Russia, we use liters for measurement of our beverages or our liquids. Liter. Now let's move on to some other crucial nouns for food. We have a lot more of food nouns that we're going to cover next time or sometime in the future, because there's a long list of different words, and I think one of our days will be specifically dedicated to just nouns for food. But we have just 7 for today because we are already at number 43. Хлеб is bread. Хлеб. We have рыба. Рыба means fish. Рыба. Еда is food. Generally, еда, food. Then we have обед. Обед is lunch. Обед. Also, обед can describe a time of the day. Lunchtime. Обед. Мясо is meat. Мясо. Масло is butter. Similar to the previous one, this one, make sure that you say ma instead of mя. Мясо, масло. And of course, we also have this L as a difference between two words. Масло. Картошка is potato. Картошка. Typically, we can refer to one single potato as картошка, but also can refer to like a crop, картошка. Even though it's going to be still singular, we refer to potato as a whole crop of multiple pieces of potatoes, of course. But картошка can be referring to both. And finally, яйцо, an egg, яйцо. Now, maybe a bit of TMI, but I have to do it for linguistic purposes. Яйцо can also refer to testicle. Just saying. And on that note, we are done for today, guys. 9th episode of the Russian vocabulary A1 level. You can practice it all with the first and second links in the description. For you not to go someplace else, you can just press one button and start practicing these words. And of course, learn with Be Fluent Camp in a more intensive manner with this button right here, or keep on watching our YouTube videos with this next one. It's up to you.